This episode, we're going to be looking at off-road recoveries, and trust me, there are a few interesting ones that I'm going to put in here for this one, and I think you'll find them very intriguing, including this one you're currently looking at the moment. I'll also include a couple of other picks, like this one of the Ranger doing a recovery. This one, this will be in another episode that I'll do, but as promised, there'll also be the demise of my four-wheel drive. Stick around, it's going to get interesting. You are on the hook with Aussie Tow Talk. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Aussie Tow Talk. And you're on the hook with the towie. There you go. There's my new slogan, maybe. I mean, who knows? But it's a beautiful Sunday morning, albeit a little bit cool, but it's a beautiful Sunday morning. And today we're going to be talking about off-road recoveries. And I've been to some, I can tell you that much. But before I get into things, look, I just want to let you all know that on my YouTube channel, I've put out a poll. And I'm wondering what you guys want me to speak about, right? So, what are my options? You know, when I've had a crash, best company for roadside assist, yada, 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 yada. And so I'm going to keep that running for another couple of weeks. And, look, just go to my YouTube channel, click which one you want me to do an episode on next, and then I'll get that done and I'll upload it, and then we'll go from there. But today, of course, as mentioned, we're talking about off-road recovery. So, I didn't do a great deal of four-wheel drive, well actually no four-wheel driving at all until I moved down to Victoria. So I was based in the Macedon Ranges, this is in 2017, and in the Macedon Ranges, of course, I was surrounded by 3 state forests and a regional park. Now, one of those it was the Cobor State Forest, which is now apparently the Cobor Forest. So it's about 2,500 hectares of now protected area. So I see the greenies got their way. But having said that, though, there are a lot of people that live right on the outskirts of the Cobor, and they were having problems with, unfortunately, some dirt bike riders. And as always, it is the minority that spoil it for the majority. And so now they've made it just basically a forest. You can't do four-wheel driving in there anymore. It's just for camping and hiking and so forth. So that's a real bloody shame. The other one is the Lurdiderg State Forest. Now, it's 14,250 hectares. It's huge, and it was one that I would go to quite a bit. It's about 60 kilometres northwest of Melbourne, and it's near Bacchus Marsh. And like I said, it's massive, but it is such a cool park to go to, especially O'Brien's Crossing. O'Brien's Crossing is awesome. Not too far from Gisborne, and look, you can go out there, you can make a real weekend of it. Lots of tracks to explore. And it's great for four-wheel driving, and it's great for bikes as well. And of course, the other one is the Wombat State Forest. Now, this one is absolutely massive. So many tracks and offshoots that go everywhere. It is a massive thing. So, had a lot of fun in there. It gets a lot of snow too. Yeah, it gets quite a bit of snow, just like the Lurdiderg. It gets quite a bit of snow when the weather is right and the snow is falling. So, and the regional park I'm speaking of is Mount Macedon Regional Park. So anybody familiar down there will be, or living down there will be familiar with the top of the tea rooms, I think they call themselves. So I go there quite a little bit. Camel's Hump, of course, is always a good ride, but I was always going around the Sanitarium Lake area there, because there's a couple of tracks that shoot off from there. You're not really supposed to go in there with a four-wheel drive, but you can. And most of the jobs I was getting called to out there was to the link track number 2, because people would follow their Google, and it runs down onto a road called Taylor's Road. And so I used to get quite a few calls down there. Now, link track number 2 is really quite slippery, but when you get down towards the last, say, 20, 30 metres, it's very steep, very slick, and it's very rutted, and a lot of people would get caught out there. So, moving right along, when I moved down there, I thought, well, shit, I'm running a towing company. and we were getting a lot of calls, to get people out of the bush and so forth. And the old tilt tray's just not gonna, it's not gonna do it. So I decided to buy myself a Ford Ranger, which I did, and I love this car. It was such a good car, and it got me in and out of places that I wouldn't have dreamed of. But if I'm going to be doing four-wheel drive recovery, I better learn how to four-wheel drive first, right? So, look, my first attempt, of course, didn't really go according to plan, but you know what? This is how you learn, right? You get out there and you have a go, and you can see there that I actually got caught on the tow bar with this one, and that bloody tow bar. I tell you what, it caught me out a couple of times. Like, it was just a pain in the freaking neck, and you can see another one here that's about to come up, where the tow bar catches me out again, and I didn't have enough speed for that one. If I'd had a bit more speed, I would have been able to do it. But you know what? Why not go for the hat trick? And let's just do it a third time. And this next one, I'm actually going to show you, is in the actual Cobor State Forest. So you can see here, yep, no dramas, taking it nice and easy. And away we go, and whack. And there we go, the tow bar strikes again. So, but that's how you learn, right? I mean, that's how you do it. That's you do this kind of stuff and you learn from your mistakes. But the other thing it also allowed me to do was get proper equipment, right? So you can see I'm winching myself out of here. This was a different kind of bog, actually, because even when I freed myself, it was so soft, and I ended up bottoming out. And I had to winch myself out of there, as you can see there. It took me quite a bit of time, and I had to, drain the water out of the car and all that kind of stuff. But a few friends and I went out not too long after that, and I had old mate in the Land Cruiser, and he said, "Ah, shit, I'll give that a go." Hold. Oh, that's the wrong one. He said, "No, no, no." He said, "Hold my beer. I'll give that a crack." And this was the end result. So yes, the 200 series really didn't get too far. In fact, even though I got caught with the tow bar, I actually think I got a bit further. I don't know. What do you reckon? Let me know. But you know what? The more you do it, the better you get. And this is what I encourage people to do, right? Because I absolutely had a ball, and I would stick to the tracks that were there. I wouldn't make my own tracks. But I had a ball, and I started getting better and better at it. And as you can see in this one here, I had my kids with me this day, and we just had a wow of a time, And when my kids were learning how to drive too, I took them out into the scrub, and I got them to negotiate certain tracks and things and stuff, and that's really important, right? Because it's one thing to learn how to drive in a normal car on normal roads, but it's an entirely different thing when you're faced with slick and slippery conditions where the terrain can change and catch you off guard. So, and hey, you know what? And we all had a bit of fun at the same time. So, but moving right along, you know what? As I said, I've done some pretty interesting recoveries, like this camper here that was in the Wood End. So this was in a part of of what they call the Lurdy Forest at Wood End there. He got himself lost. Took me 3 days to find this thing because old mate had walked out onto the Calder Freeway, and he couldn't remember what off ramp he was. He had no idea because it was pitch black. And I don't know if he was following his GPS or what the go was there, but anyway, I ended up finding it quite by accident, and I was able to get it out, so that was a good thing. The other one here, well, poor old mate, just tradie, and he was actually doing some work in the forest, and he just took a wrong turn and slid out a little bit. So, and that's just an unfortunate thing where it can happen. And but this guy here, this next one, I actually had to laugh quite a bit. So this was at Balongarook, and this gentleman here, this was his wife's car, and he'd just been out playing golf for the day and thought, hey, shit, I'll take a shortcut through the forest on the way home. And that was the end result. Got him out though, no problems, and minimal damage to the vehicle. Like, it was wedged in there pretty hard, but I actually got it out, and I think that just the side steps copped most of the brunt of that, so which was pretty cool. So I was quite happy with that as well. But you know what? It doesn't just apply to our people that love to play golf. It also applies to grocery deliveries. Yes, you can see that, right? Dear old Mr. Woolworths, poor guy, again following his GPS, and because there are, look, in his defence, there are a lot of properties that live out in these forests, right? Balungarook, the Ludiderg. There's people that live in there. There's people that live in the Cobor. As people live in the Wombat and so forth, and this is no different. No, actually, no. This was Mount Macedon Regional Park down the bottom of the mountain, and he got himself caught. So poor guy, and I felt really sorry for him. And but you know what? I found him, and I managed to get him out. And you can see that white stuff on the ground. So here's a bit of a tip, right? So if you've got yourself stuck and you find yourself, how sometimes you can get that surface and it's very skimmy, it's like ice, so you're not actually sinking down into anything. It's hard, it's slick, and you just can't get any traction. So lime, builder's lime, not the hydrated stuff, right? Get the other stuff, the ag lime. Brilliant. Smear it all over your tyres, right? And lay a bit of a trail, and gives you about 5 minutes before it sort of soaks up and doesn't become any good, in wet conditions. But it will give you traction, and you'll be able to get out. So you may need a few bags, but yeah. And just remember too that after you've used the lime, clean up as much of it as you can, and dispose of it properly. Don't just bloody leave it there, because it's not really great for the environment, but it will get you out of a sticky situation. And speaking of sticky situations, well, no amount of lime was going to help anybody with this one. This vehicle actually rolled all the way down a paddock. It would have rolled probably a good 200 metres and straight into the dam. So and it was up to its roof. So so I managed to get that one out again using my Ford Ranger, and I was able to pull it out. It took quite a while. I think it took about 4.5 hours to get that one out. Had to do it super slow because the suction of the bloody dam that it was in was giving me a lot of resistance. So, and I couldn't get the truck down there, so we had to use the four-wheel drive. Another Google Map person here with this one, and that is a Lexus, and it was in a place that I struggled to get to. So I've got to credit this young fella though; he did well to get this far. So yeah, that wasn't a bad one either. But you got to love the people, right? So a lot of people that I met were really good and happy-go-lucky, and they sort of think, oh shit, I'm a dickhead and I've done this and I've done that. This next one was extremely funny, and they were such good sports though. So this again is the Mount Macedon Regional Park, and the funny thing about this one is they'd already driven through it once, right? And the young lady was driving, and she was on her L plates. And she said to hubby, and she said, oh, look, maybe we should get out the other way and stuff like that. And he said, no, that's okay. I'll jump in the car and we'll go back out the other way. And he was the one that got stuck, and she didn't. So I found that quite funny. But these guys, if you guys are watching, you are such good sports. I had a wow of a time salvaging your car out of there. Excuse me. It was fantastic. And they were quite happy to have a chuckle at themselves. So... And I guess that's the important thing, right? We all need to be able to laugh at ourselves. And look at me, I'm from New Zealand, and you know what? I will tell the best sheep jokes ever, because my philosophy is if you can't laugh at yourself, you've got no right laughing at anybody else. That's just the way I look at things, So those last guys were quite fantastic. This guy here, he was a nice fella, and just bought himself a Ford Ranger, but still had road tyres on it, and didn't have anything else. No lift kit, as you can see, no bull bar, definitely no winch. And no, well, he's got a UHF there, but wouldn't know. You can't pull your bloody vehicle out of that thing without a UHF, right? So he's tried to negotiate this. He wants to see what the Ranger can do, and unfortunately, the area that he's picked, you're not going to get too far without too many modifications. So, but here's another view, and he's really got it in there. So, but funnily enough, it came out quite easy. It came out extremely easy, so I was quite happy with that. And good thing too, he was a mechanic, and he was able to get things up. Because if I go back to the other photo here, so here on this side is the bloody airbox on that side there, and it was a little bit wet. It wasn't too bad. It was a little bit wet, so he was able to get out of that quite easily. So yeah, and again, here I think the pride for him. I mean, his partner was laughing her head off. I think he was, he was a bit he was a bit how you going. I think the pride took a bit of a hit, and you know what? I get it. I get it. So, and you'll see why I get it very shortly. So yeah, but when you go into the bush, right, it's important that you plan where you're going to go, right? And all jokes aside, so if you're going to do a track and you go into the track, make sure that you document your entry point of where you've gone in, right? Because so many tracks have different entry points, but they're the same bloody track. So let's say if you're going into the XL track at the Lunadirk State Forest, for instance, I'll just use that as an example. That actually runs off O'Brien's Road, which runs off, I can't remember the name of the road now, the main road. But if you need to be recovered for any reason, or you need an emergency for any reason, you give those people who are going to come out and help you a reference point to start from. And that's really important. I can't tell you how many times that people would say, they'd say, oh man, I'm stuck. I need you to come and get me. Okay, where did you enter the track from? Oh, I don't know. So, and that makes it 10 times as hard, right? So, but if you do that, and especially if you're paying for somebody like me to come out there, and like I wasn't shy, like you were charging an hourly rate from the time I left the depot to the time the job was completed, and in most cases it took me an hour to get out to the location to begin with, right? So, and that's a minimum of an hour. So, when you go four-wheel driving, make sure you pick the right track for you. Make sure it's the right track for the vehicle, and no matter what the track, make sure you document or keep a note of your entry point just in case, because that is and sometimes can be vital. I had one there one night where a fully equipped four-wheel drive, the winch snapped, and it was pissing down with rain. They had their kids with them, and they couldn't get out. And basically what had happened was the vehicle started filling with water. So that was it. I called in emergency services after that, and the fireys went in with their big truck and got them out. So before I could get there. So, when I say it can be life-threatening, I am not fucking joking. It can be life-threatening. So it's really important to document where you're going from. Now, of course, speaking of winching, right? And I'm going to show you a short video, and I just want you to, sort of tell me in the comments what you think this person is doing wrong. And I'm not having a crack at her, but just what do you reckon she's doing wrong there? I mean, she's getting a bit of movement there, but the winch lets go. So what do you reckon? Should she have winched forwards or got somebody to pull her out backwards and have another crack? So, but that's, I'm going to highlight another point with that. If we just watch it again, all these people here, if you're doing winching, you've got a child there and stuff like that, too close. We all want to see the big action and all that kind of stuff, and we all want to be right there when it all happens and yada, yada, yada. But, when you're winching like that, granted it was only a short winch rope and it's broken from the vehicle, so the vehicle end of the winch rope. But if that had broken from, say, the tree hugger, that hook, that metal hook, would have just flown straight back and hit somebody. So that's, I sort of use that. We can all have a bit of a giggle at it, but I sort of use that as a safety concern too. And it's, I think for me, I think the best thing she could have done was get somebody to winch her off backwards, and then she could have had another crack at it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you agree, and then we'll go from there. So, and lastly, of course, as promised, the demise of my beloved Ranger. Yeah, I had a lot of sentimental value with this car. As I said, I taught my kids how to drive in it pretty much when they would come down from Brizzy. So this is in the Ludiderg State Forest, and I was on my way out to help a friend who got themselves stuck, and I only doing about 40 kilometres an hour, I think it was. It wasn't fast, and I'm looking at my GPS to make sure that I'm going in the right direction for the track to get onto the track where they were. And a bunch of bloody kangaroos come out from my right and startled me, and I've jerked the steering wheel, and that's where I've ended up. And I was so pissed off, right, because I had spent I think it was about $5,000 rebuilding the rear diff, and I had a half wrap already made up, and that was due to be put on there in 2 weeks. So I was a little bit upset with that, and as you can see in this next photo, it was pretty soft down there. So by the time my truck got there, and mind you though, he hit 3 kangaroos on the way in too, so they were everywhere that day. So by the time my truck got there, it was pretty well in there, and it was all over Red Rover. And you'll see with this next photo, yeah, it was just, I was still got power to the car, but it was wet, it was cold, and I couldn't believe what a dickhead I was. And if you have a look at this photo here, you can see the amount of water that's just gone right up through the dash. So needless to say, the car was a total loss, and I went home and had a few rums, and not long after that, after getting home, I was a bit of a total loss myself. So yes, the Ranger that I loved and did so much work with, I think I had it for about 5 years when this happened. So yeah, I was just about paid off too. Such a good car, and I was, yeah, that did me in. Anyway, look, let me know in the comments what you think, and like I said earlier, I'm more than happy to have a chuckle at myself, and so fire away, as long as it's, you're not being a dickhead. If you're going to be a dickhead, I've got no time for that. But if you're going to throw a couple of jokes around there, yep, by all means, please do so. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I actually went through so much material, I've probably got enough there to do a part 2, so stay tuned. Not quite sure what I'm going to do next week, but I found another video that could be really interesting as well, and it's to do with the one I did on that stolen Land Cruiser. So there's a part 2 where there's actually 2 vehicles that I found in the Ludiderg State Forest of all fucking places, so would you believe that? In the meantime, don't forget to like and comment. Really appreciate all the feedback that I've been getting so far. We're on TikTok, so check us out on TikTok there, and we're also on Instagram. But obviously, I'll put links in for the main videos for a lot of these recoveries that I do. And look, thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Look forward to seeing you next week. And if you are out in the bush and you are doing a bit of four-wheel driving, yeah, just take a little bit of extra care. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.